Okay, well, welcome everyone. And I'll call the meeting to order. And would you like to do a roll call for us, Debbie, please?
So we have Commissioner Canopa,
Here.
Anderson,
Here.
Stone Road,
Here.
Belatico,
Here.
Thompson Graham,
Here.
Van Buren, and Roller.
Oh, I think she's just logging on.
Yep.
Hang on, she should be on. Let's see, Anna, if you can hear us, we just
Sorry,
did roll
yep,
call.
I'm here.
Okay,
Sorry.
great.
Yes, I'm here.
Right on the nick of time, so. All right, thank you. And I think it's just Jill that we're missing, so, but, okay. Well, Joyce and Nick, welcome to our Parks and Recreation and Tree Commission meeting. It was combined, the two committees, and to make one. And so we've got a great group that's really strong advocates for our beautiful park system that we have here. And we all love our trees and our urban forests too. So would you like to tell us a little bit about you and your interest? Or Joyce, you can start.
Sure. And thank you for the welcome, Sharon. I have been recently and unexpectedly, but not unhappily, retired. My position at LBCC was one of the departments that was cut. And the positives about it is that it's given me some time to really think about what I really care about, love, and value. And I was talking to our mayor and was just telling him about my interest in really making Albany a better, stronger place. And he said, I have a place for you. So specifically, I don't come from a background of I have no forestry in my family. And nobody's an urban planner, but I myself have had some physical challenges. And as I've recovered, I've been using our parks more, and I've become acutely aware of ADA issues in our parks, which I know you're working on, so that's fabulous. And also I'm a tree hugger, and I think that might be something I can find some trees to hug with you all. So thank you for your welcome.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, thank you. Nick?
Yeah, hi, I'm Nick. I have 3 young kids, and so in the last probably 3 years, I visited probably more than 75% of Albany's parks, just trying to keep things fresh with the kids. So on top of that, I really love trees, and I've over the last couple of years been learning as much as I can about trees, and I got to spend time with Jay and a crew last Earth Day planting trees at Periwinkle, and Jay planted a tree right in front of my house when they were cutting down some old pear trees, and he offered to plant a tree, and I was very excited about it. So, and then I saw this opportunity come up and said, I'm interested.
It's wonderful. Yeah, well, thank you. So, okay. I still don't see Jill. I don't think she popped on here yet. So next on our agenda is approval of the minutes, and this would be for February 7th. And if there wasn't anything that anybody saw any changes, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes.
Move to approve the minutes as is.
Okay. All right. Aaron made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll take a second.
Okay. All right. And I think that was Bill.
No, that wasn't. Nope.
Oh, okay.
Nick.
That was
It was
Nick.
Oh, it was
Nick.
Nick. Okay. Thank you. And I just saw Jill popped on. So Jill, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so we have a motion and a second, and if there isn't any discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you, folks. And we've got a little bit of change here on the agenda. Since we do have the consultants here over Deerfield Park, that we're going to move up item C1 up to the top here for the capital projects update. And I assume nobody has any problems with that. So we will go ahead and have Kim lead off on that.
Sure. Thank you so much for your flexibility. We want to be respectful of Kurt and Catherine's time. So yes, for our capital projects report, just kind of going over the other two projects, Meadow Ridge Park, done. We hope to see you all on April 12th at 10 a.m. as we are going to be having a little celebration out there. We want a lot of people to come, but we don't want too many people to come because it's only 1.8 acres and we're only going to have so many popsicles or cookies. So, and on any given day, Rick has been out there on just a random time on a weekend and has counted 34 people. So we're feeling good about it. So please put that on your calendars. We would love to see you out there celebrating our newest park since 2009. Timberland soccer fields, we have a little bit of a pause. I know there's some continued conversation going on between AYSO and Rick. Stay tuned as procurement is a challenge everywhere. And so we're going to try to figure out what direction we go from here. So stay tuned. And then the last one, Deerfield Park. So we had our first of two public information sessions last Wednesday, the 28th. We had almost 50 people come out to the Riverfront Community Center. It was happening for a solid hour. And so Catherine and Kurt will share a little bit more about that, tell you about the experience and kind of our next steps. So I'll turn it over to you all.
Thanks. Yeah, I think we'll just jump right in. I think what we'd like to do is share the options that we presented at the meeting last week with the public, just kind of go through them and then talk about some of the feedback that we've received and talk about our next steps. So I'll just share my screen if I can. Let's go to, there we go. Can everybody see that? Hopefully. Oops. So I'm not sure, I don't know who was here last time around, but we did a quick site analysis of the site. It's about 11 acres, pretty flat if you haven't been out there. There's an aging out-of-date playground and pathway and basketball court, none of which meet ADA requirements at this point in time. There are a couple of backstops for ball fields that are not used or very seldomly used. And then there's a temporary 9-hole disc golf course on site. And then there's a whole scattering of small to mature large trees, which are a great amenity as well. So moving forward, what we wanted to do is come up with some options that we've vetted, just done a very high level cost analysis to make sure that we can staying within the budget for these parks. So we know that we don't have a lot to spend on this park, especially for an 11-acre park. So we know we want some pathways, we want a updated play area, and then aside from that, we just wanted to look at some other options. We know going in that we probably cannot afford to do any kind of utility work, so drainage work. So all of these options assume that we are going to use permeable concrete paving same as what we did at Meadow Ridge. And that'll help us avoid doing any piping or drainage associated with the concrete. So option one, as you can see, we've got a play area here, open lawn area, a new full court basketball court, generally where the old play area was. And then these pathways kind of looping through. We've got one big loop pathway around this open lawn. We also have a pathway along Del Rio, because currently there is no pathway other than this existing pathway that comes into the park. So we wanted to provide some kind of loop pathway around Del Rio. This option, as well as the other options, has a permanent 9-hole disc golf course. And this option, we're also looking at an off-leash dog area down on this end of the site. So that's option one. Option two, we wanted to look at an option that did not have any kind of off-leash dog area, at least not any kind of formal off-leash dog area. So this one, again, we have a basketball court that's, but this is only half court. Another play area located similar to where the other one was. But this one has pathways that go all the way through the site. So that we have one pathway that starts at Waverly and goes all the way through to connect to the existing pathway at this end. And it also has a pathway that connects, it's not actually Fulton Court, it's Del Rio Court, as I've been told, but connects to the across the street here. So you can imagine coming into the site, kind of weaving through these trees, and getting into this play area, which will have some shade from the afternoon sun with the existing trees on this side. Disc golf is kind of scattered around this end of the site, similar to what it's at where it is now. And we've also proposed a soft surface pathway that runs around the outside perimeter so that people can do a larger loop around the site. And finally, option three. What we wanted to look at for this one is centering a off-leash dog area the farthest away from the neighbors as possible, just to avoid that kind of noise situation. So we centered that in the middle of the park in this option. We put the play area farther to the southeast, and in this option, we are proposing doing a futsal, kind of a mixed futsal basketball court. If you don't know what futsal is, it's like soccer, but it's played on a hard surface court. And this one would also have some basketball hoops if it's not being used for futsal. So again, like option two, this one also has a pathway that runs all the way through the site from one end to the other and to Del Rio Court. But this one does not have a loop trail. So as Kim said, we had a lot of people come out, and people had a lot of options. I think we heard a lot of opinions, I should say. One of the things we heard in each option was concerns about parking, particularly from the people who live immediately across the street. There's concern that anything we do here is going to increase the number of people coming to the park and parking on Del Rio. And because Del Rio more or less dead ends kind of down at the southeast end here, people come down Waverly and pull onto the street and park in front of people's houses. And so that's a concern, especially for the neighbors along here. We also heard, I was working the board, the option one board, and we heard a lot of people say that they really want a pathway connection through the park from one end to the other, so that I've heard from a lot of people that they want to do, they walk through the neighborhoods and they want to do loops through the neighborhoods. They want to be able to walk with their kids without, having to go into the street or anything like that. So with option 1 that did not have a connection, that was seen as a negative. We also heard that people were kind of leery about having a formal off-leash dog area. Part of this, I think, is concern from neighbors that having a formal off-leash dog area would bring people from out of the neighborhood with their dogs. Again, coming back to the parking question. But also people felt like there weren't that many dogs in the park as it was, and didn't feel like it was that big of a concern, and didn't really want to see park space dedicated to off-leash dog area. And finally, I think people responded pretty positively to moving the play area where it was, and so kind of in this area, away from the road a bit, but also wondered if we could spread things out. So, if you could imagine this play area maybe moving down here so that the uses in the park, so the, basketball court, play area, disc golf, are more distributed throughout the park rather than having concentrated at one end. Let's see what else. I think we also heard from a number of neighbors that this northeast corner of the park is kind of soggy, and we might not be able to do a pathway along here that would be dry enough to walk on during the winter months. And people most people, we heard a lot of support for disc golf, both from people who played it and from people who didn't play it. I think most people thought it was a nice amenity to have in the park. We didn't hear much interest in keeping either of the existing ball fields, except from one neighbor in particular. But so I think all in all, people responded most positively to option 2, because it had some loop trail. We could look at changing this one possibly to take it out of this area. Keeps a basketball court, has a new play area, and has good walking connections all the way through. We've also started talking to the disc golf folks about looking at these designs, or this design in particular, and coming up with a more formal or a better idea of what a 9-hole disc golf course would look like with this design. So yeah, Kim or I see one hand up. Jill, you have a question?
Just one question. The dog park, is it going to be fenced?
What we've heard is that people do not want to have a dog park, not a formal dog park. So we are not proposing a fenced dog area at this point.
So the dogs are going to be out in the area where people are golfing?
Potentially. I think what we heard from the neighbors is that they don't feel like it's a concern, even the people who don't have dogs, and they would rather not see any kind of fenced dog area or formal dog area in this park.
Okay.
I'll maybe just kind of jump in because I think it's a great question, and it's something that we talk to a lot of neighbors and people that use the park. And I guess the feeling was, and just to reiterate what Kate was saying, was that most of the people that use the park with the dogs are either on leash, or if on occasion they're off leash. The neighbors didn't really see that as a particular issue. And I think the bigger concern was that once you introduce a fence, then you are probably going to have people from outside the area come in and use it because it will be a sanctioned dog park. And just the dog parks that we've done, just the amount of maintenance too is always really difficult, just in terms of you know, how you can kind of upkeep the lawn areas. So I don't think anything's final, but I think we were leaning towards just keeping it as is right now. But certainly, you know, we'd love to hear your opinions on all the designs and you know, the feedback that we got from the neighbors as well.
Joyce?
Oh, Joyce, I think you're on mute.
You can tell I've gotten a little rusty with this. You may have already addressed this before, so I'll be brief. How is the parking issue being addressed? Because I know this park and I know that there really is nowhere to park except basically in front of somebody's house.
Good question. Go ahead, Kurt.
Yeah, you know, I think and Kate, maybe you can kind of zoom in onto option 2. I think actually what's different about this park versus a lot of other neighborhood parks that we do is the amount of potential parking that we do have. Because on Del Rio, certainly there's residences on the south side, but on the north side, there's also available parking as well. And we counted, there's up to 60 spaces that are available. And we just, for a project in the budget that we have, we can't create a parking lot within the park that would eat up probably half of our budget. And with the amount of available parking space on the north side, we felt like if we were to spread out the amenities, like Kate mentioned in the very beginning, so it's not all concentrated in one area, so everyone's not trying to park in that one area, that we would then, I think it would better kind of help and alleviate the situation right now.
A further comment, I use Lexington Park fairly often, and I know that most of the parking occurs near the playground area. So I think this speaks to, again, more favorable for option 2. Option 3, with it way down on the other end, I don't think that would be a win with the neighborhood.
Great, thank you. Sharon? You're on mute.
Yeah. It keeps hiding from me, dropping down. So with the plan that's out there, and I think you did some great 3 options. Did you present at all having a covered play area? Or was that just gonna add too much cost to the project? Was that brought to the neighborhood meetings or not?
At this point, we have not presented any play area designs. So, so we have not presented any kind of play area covered or not covered. As part of the next meeting, we'll present an overall updated plan based on this option 2, and we'll present a couple, 2 or 3 play area designs. My guess is that we will not be able to afford a covered play area just because of the budget limitations. But we can certainly look at play equipment options that have some cover associated with them.
Yeah.
So what was the sentiment over basketball? Did anybody have any concerns on that? Because neighbors, you know, can pick up noise when it comes to bouncing of basketballs. Was there any concern?
I didn't hear any. You know, and when we visited the park a few weeks ago now, there were actually a couple people out there playing basketball when we got there. So I think the fact that there is a basketball court currently on site, I don't I got the impression that people didn't really mind if there was a new one.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
So-
good.
Yeah.
What about the dog park though? I mean, it is disappointing because we did, I think, all of us on the commission were supportive of it, but I do understand with neighbors, there could be some concern where it could bring in people, from outside of the neighborhood. But I do think if a dog park doesn't go into this park, we are lacking dog parks in Albany. So we're going to have to be looking at that in the future to be able to have a designated space for off-leash, dogs to be able to roam. There's a lot of dogs in this city.
Yeah.
Just about, I don't have a dog, but I tell you, just about everybody, it seems like there's a lot of dogs. So I can see it's going to be a big demand someday. But
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good point. And also to consider is that nothing that we're doing here could potentially preclude that from happening in the future too. So I think just the way that the amenities are arranged, that if it comes to pass where that's something that's brought back, that could be a possibility as well.
Okay, thank you.
Kim?
So just touching base on the covered playground area, as I know that's been something that city council has brought up as well as several community members. I would love to see it happen. Heck, as somebody who looks for places already for my family, it would be lovely to have one. I think if we were to do something like that, it would need to be at one of our larger community parks or special event areas, because I do think it would bring folks from all over town. So I would be a little bit nervous to put it in this park, with just the very loud feedback we've gotten regarding all of the elements and nervousness about attracting too much traffic. So
Good point.
so I would be out there, and so I hate saying this, but I don't know if this is going to be the park for that, either due to budget and just general proximity. But it's definitely something that we need to be looking for and have that on the short list potentially moving forward.
Thank you, Kim.
Does anybody else have any comments? Nick?
Yeah, I guess I was wondering, in that northeast corner where you said it gets a little bit marshy, I guess, would it alleviate any of that to have some sort of like, I don't know, a swale where you could, like, maybe a seasonal pool or something like that, or pond that can dry out in the summer, but if you have the right plants there in the winter, it can handle both of that. Does that help with something like that?
My sense, and I haven't seen this myself, it didn't feel soggy when I was on site. But my sense is that if it rains a lot, we get a period of a lot of rain, it just gets soggy and then it dries out. So I don't think there's any reason to do any particular kind of treatment with it. It's just more an area to avoid putting a lot of, pathways or anything in.
And Catherine, also, I remember Jill mentioning about having a flower type garden or a rhododendron garden or rose garden. So was any of that brought forward to the neighborhood? That suggestion?
Not specifically. It's something that we did look at a little bit. And I think it's still, it's still something that we could do. I could see it, I could even see putting it into this scheme, like in some of these areas. It's, I think one concern about doing that is we would need to irrigate it. And while there is a little bit of irrigation out there, I don't know what the extent of it is. So it will add, like, doing that would add cost, and we can look at that. And I think if we can accommodate it, I think it'd be a really nice amenity.
Mm-hmm.
Be
Thank you.
nice if Albany had something like Henderson Park in Eugene, where people just flood there every summer to see the roadies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, was there anything else, Kim? Did you want to continue the lead on this?
Sure. And so our next steps is we're working with Catherine and Kurt to kind of refine and talk a little bit more. And then the idea is to come back at the Riverfront Community Center from 6 until 7 on March 20th to show kind of one design that is a combination of all the things that we've seen and all the feedback that we've heard. We know that we're not going to make everybody happy, but our goal is to make as many people happy as possible and make sure that we're creating a park that we're going to be able to maintain and take pride in for, you know, the next 40 to 50 years before it probably gets any real love again. So, so that's our next plan. And then Kurt and Catherine are wonderful as they are helping us to put together a grant for the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department. They have a state fund for a local government grant, and we're going to be applying for one for rehabilitation. And so one of the things that I'm hoping this group tonight would be able to make a formal motion and say that you're in support of rehabilitation of this park. And then with that, I will ask that this group and Chair Canopa write a letter of support that we can include with our grant application.
Okay. And I just lost gallery screen here. Okay. Any questions over that Kim suggested? Is the commission up to having a letter of support for the park improvements? Bill or Jill or Aaron, anybody want to?
Sounds like a good idea to me.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, about the road.
Do we need
addendum.
a motion for that?
Yes, she did ask for motion on that.
I'll make
I
a
make
motion.
I second.
Okay, so I missed who did the first? Who made the motion? Oh, Anna?
Okay,
And
we need to
then-
back up. We need the formal motion.
Yes.
Sorry.
Right. So Anna, do you want to make formal motion, or I can say it'd be a motion for a letter of support for the parks and Deerfield Parks improvements?
Yes, I'd like to make a formal motion.
Okay.
Sufficient? Okay.
All right. So that's the first, and then was that okay for the person that made the second?
I second, yeah.
Second, Jill second. Okay. Do you have that, Debbie? Yep. Okay. Any discussion on that motion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. And anyone opposed? Okay, not seeing anyone. With that, the motion is carried. Okay, I will get a letter drafted up for that.
Thanks so
you
much.
very much.
Yeah.
And thank you, Catherine. Thank you,
Thank you.
Kurt. We'll
Yeah,
talk to you soon.
Thank you, Catherine and Kurt.
All
Yeah,
right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
exciting project. Thank you. So, okay, Kim, do you have more capital projects updates?
That's it for capital projects.
Okay,
We can continue on with our agenda.
okay. All right. And then that would be the possible amendment for the Albany Municipal Code over trees. That'd be Rick.
Yeah, actually, that and general tree issues, Jay is here tonight. He's going to take care of those. So my job's easy.
Okay. All right, Jay.
Hi, everybody. For those of you I haven't met, I'm Jay. I'm the City Forester Natural Resource Specialist. So a little background, for the past few months, we've been kicking around the idea of making some improvements to our tree code. Basically, you know, when you can cut down a tree, when you need to ask city permission to cut down a private tree because it's considered protected. We've seen a couple holes in our tree code that we might want to fill in. So I've been talking with y'all, thinking about it, doing research over the past few months. And I finally came up with some recommendations just to throw to the commission and see what you think. And maybe we could get something before the council. So I don't have any fancy presentations or anything. I just have something I'm going to read off, if that's okay. And then I can get a copy of this to you all. Maybe I can email Debbie or something. But so my first recommendation would be removing more than 40% of the canopy or 40% of the critical root zone should be considered a tree removal. Therefore, requiring a permit on protected trees. Right now, a removal just means cutting down a tree, the entire tree. But basically, if somebody wanted to go and remove a bunch of the roots or remove, top a tree, remove most of the canopy, that's not currently considered a removal. And I think it should be, because, an action like that is severe enough to kill the tree. So second, topping damage inflicted on a root system by application of toxic substances or change of natural grade due to unapproved excavation or filling should also be considered a tree removal. These are activities that are known to kill trees. It's not necessarily cutting the tree down, but still in effect, if you're doing that and harming the tree, it's still a removal. So I believe activities like that around protected trees should require a permit to do that. Number 3, for Oregon white oak and Willamette Valley ponderosa pine, I'm proposing we move the threshold for protection from 24 inches down to 20 inches for these 2 species of trees. Many municipalities in our area protect Oregon white oak to a greater degree than they protect other trees. We would actually be the first city to add that same kind of protection to the Willamette Valley ponderosa pine, which is another tree that's, sadly disappearing from our region very quickly. So I would like to move that down to 20 inches for a single tree, and 6 inches for 5 or more trees. And then for all other species, the threshold for protection would remain 24 inches DBH for a single tree, and 8 inches for 5 or more trees. Currently, we don't really have any fines set. The city code gives the tree commission the ability to set fines, but we don't currently have anything like that. So I'm proposing that that violators will be fined a simple $100 per inch of the diameter of the removed tree for removal of the tree. And then finally, last one, nice and simple. This is a little change to the permit criteria I'd like to add. I propose that we say that a permit can be granted if the tree is invasive. This includes trees like tree of heaven, empress tree, black locust, or any other tree that is negatively impacting local natural areas, native plants, or animal habitat as decided by the city forester. That's what I got. I know it's a lot to throw at y'all without having something up on the screen, but that's what I came up with. So does anybody have any questions for me?
I do. This is Bill.
Hey, Bill.
Hi. I would, you mentioned 20 inches in protecting ponderosa and the white oak.
Yes.
I'd like to see that even lower to maybe 18 inches and also protect all native trees to Oregon. That include Douglas firs, also cottonwoods and ash trees. What's other trees? They also include the redwood trees. To include all those trees. And,
okay.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to propose it to 18 inches. Because I sent a picture of an 18-inch tree is a pretty good sized tree.
Sure.
There's, right down by the city hall, there's a huge Doug fir, and I took a picture of that for one of our meetings. And that's probably a 50, 60 foot tall tree. So that's the type of tree that currently could be removed without a permit. So I thought 18 would be a better,
Right.
a
Okay.
better.
So, so on that with, let me get, so the first one, Jay, would be, if somebody kind of damaged a tree by 40%, damage a canopy or the root zone. So that would basically be a violation. Correct?
Yeah.
And then the second one you had down is if somebody's applying some sort of toxic substance to a tree to kind of try to intentionally kill it.
Right. Right.
And then you have down for protecting the Oregon white oak in the Willamette Valley ponderosa pine, that size. So we've always had in that sort of development, it used to be the development code, where if you cut down 5 or more trees, that you had to get the permit for it. But some people were skirting around that and cutting down 4 one year and then going around and cutting 4 the next year. Is there going to be like a timeline put on that? So say if you get a permit, if it's going to be 5 or more trees, say if they're cutting down 4 of them, and then if they wait the next year, if that's 1, wouldn't they hit the 5? Or did we put any sort of time frame in that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Right now, I'm kind of just enforcing that just with my records. You know, if I haven't had this yet, but if I have people coming at me year after year with people, you know, I kind of try to catch it, but there's nothing about that actually enshrined in law. So, I mean, I think that's a really great idea. As far as the timeline, 3 years, 5 years, I mean, I've noticed some things like that in other pieces of city code from other surrounding cities. So maybe I can kind of try to take from, you know, what Portland's doing, and throw something like that in there.
And Rick has his hand up. He might remember if there's been issues like that over time.
Yeah, I have a couple of comments. What Jay's proposing is really good. We do need to put a timeline on it because technically there's not a timeline. So technically, if somebody really pushed it, they could take 4 trees out in the morning, have lunch, take 4 more trees out. So there's not a timeline placed on it. We've held people to a timeline, but legally we haven't really had we just kind of did it. We don't have the legal background to do that. So that's something. When he talks about a 40% removal, people can have a habit of if they don't like a tree, they just take it down almost to a stump. And so that one makes total sense. An example is if you look at Kentucky Fried Chicken around their parking lot, we would not let them remove those trees. So they cut them down to nothingness. Toxic substances, he's right on that. You think, well, that wouldn't be something, but we have trees mysteriously die after we say they can't cut them down, and they die from the bottom up, which is unusual. Usually a tree will die from the top down. And I've seen that happen. And then they can get a permit because the tree becomes a hazard. So people are, yeah, it's interesting what people will do. And I think that there is some room for debate on the size of the trees. It's going to be a push to go much under 20-inch on white oak and ponderosa pine, and maybe on the others. So I think that's something that Jay probably will work on, and I can work on him with him on that a little bit. But I really like what Jay has done here. I like the fact that there's an established fine, because in the past, the fine has been, well, what do you come up with? And you never knew if the judge was going to throw it out. If you asked for too much, the judge would throw it out. But the idea of $100 per inch over is a very good way of doing that. So that's what I got.
Oh, that's great. So Jay, you mentioned, what was the last thing? Can you repeat that you had the last suggestion?
I apologize for not sending something out to you all. I would just, I propose in addition to the criteria for being able to obtain an approved permit, I just want the city code to say that a permit can be granted if the tree is invasive. And then we could even include the species of concern, including tree of heaven, empress tree, black locust, or any other tree that I found to be negatively impacting natural areas, native plants, animal habitat, etc.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, Nick, I see you got a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to, this is just a clarification. So you were talking about bringing it down from 24-inch to 20-inch diameter. I assume that's diameter of the tree. First of all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we measure the diameter 4.5 feet above the base of the tree. So right there at breast height.
And then you were talking about 6 inches for 5 or more. Is that in like how big of an area are we talking? So I assume we're talking about like if there's 5 trees in a certain amount of area that are at least 6 inches or larger that we are protecting it.
On a single property.
On a single property. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. That was my question.
Okay. Jill, did you have a question?
No, I just wanted to compliment Jay that it's obviously very well thought out. He thought about things that people who are not in the forestry business would not think of. And I particularly like the end about the invasive, because what that does is that you don't want the people in Albany to think, well, they won't let you cut anything. And they're just stubborn about that. But for you to give them flexibility on certain types of trees, I think that's a more acceptable way. So good job, Jay.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm really trying to skirt a line here because I think we need more protection for our trees, especially certain species of really important trees that are disappearing from our region really quickly. But I don't want to be too aggressive with it. Number one, I fear once people get news that, hey, these new tree laws are coming into effect, people might panic and just start cutting down trees, before the law is actually passed or gone into effect. And also, if we create too stringent tree laws, it's going to create more work than the Parks Department has staff to be able to address. So we want to make sure that we do everything within our power to strengthen these laws.
Right. So, so Jay and Rick, what's the next step on this then? Are you wanting to put this all into text and in an ordinance and bring back to this commission to look at it, or just go ahead and are you wanting sort of a thumbs up for us to proceed for it to go to the council? It's kind of nice if you, before you present it to the council, to have this body give the thumbs up.
Let me jump in there, Jay, if it's all right. I think what he's asking for tonight is any input you have on that. He's going a direction. I think Jay comes back with a written, this is what we want to propose to the council, and then looks for support from this committee and then goes there. Is that right, Jay? Am I thinking down what you're thinking? I think that's what we have to do.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in new waters for me. I'm not sure if the commission actually drafts language to bring to the council or if we're drafting the language to bring to the council. And plus, I wanted to, everything I've kind of said here, all these, these 5 points I've thought about quite a lot. And these are going to be my recommendations. If the commission wants to take these and change them, that's all within your power to do as our civilian oversight. So that's basically what I'm doing here today, is presenting this to you. I'm going to get this document to you all. If you want to talk about it more and hash it out, if you want to change things a little bit, that's going to be on you to do. And then if we need us to maybe type up some sort of language for the city council, I'll gladly do that, even though I have zero experience doing that.
So what's been done in the past on all ordinances? So when it comes to any one of the advisory groups, so staff will bring it to the group and in the ordinance form, and then you do the strikeouts and the new language in that actual document. So that's how we've always done, you know, any of our ordinance changes. So, and then when that goes to the council, they want to see that also. They want to see what language basically is being removed and what's being added. So, so you'd want to pull up the existing tree ordinance and then fit into what's being proposed here, and for that new text to be put in. And if you need any help, that's the city attorney should be able to help you out on that, and other staff members too. So I probably answered for Kim, but she was probably going to jump in, but yeah. So did you want to add to it, Kim, or did I get it?
I'm turning it over to Debbie.
Okay. Debbie, yes. Whoops, I just lost you on the screen. Oh, there you went.
I was just gonna say that the action needs to come from the Parks and Recreation Department, meaning Jay, Kim, that sort of thing. This commission can make recommendations and comments. They can't write language.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's always been that way. They can make suggestions for language changes, but yeah, but not write the language. So that's the way it's been for going on almost 30 years that I've been involved. So, but yeah. Okay. Aaron?
Yeah, so I think, Jay, I think you have direction to go forward with this from everything that I've heard from the commission so far, right? I mean, I don't think anybody's given you anything. So I think that's the next step, is to write the ordinance of the strikeouts and, you know, bring it back to us to make sure that we're good with all the changes, and it's what we had recommended, and we go from there.
Okay, that sounds good to me. I can do that.
Can
Right.
can we address a certain maybe some minor changes? Like he said 20 inches and I suggested 18, and then also protecting additional trees.
Yeah, I can address that, Bill.
Like a vote or at the next meeting or
Oh, I think you cut out, Bill. I missed what you said. Oh, I think we lost you.
Yeah, I know what he was saying. He's saying that because he's saying that we want to go 18. Jay's saying stick with 20. If whatever language that Jay comes back with, if he says 20 and we as a commission believe that it should be 18, we can vote on it at the next meeting once we have that document in there, right? I mean, there's no reason for us to. We've given you kind of general direction. We just want to see what you come back with before we actually start tearing it up. If that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. Just so Bill understands it, he's going to provide the language for us, and then we'll vote on how we want to arrange it and mark it up.
Okay, that's it. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you now.
Yeah, that'd be fine if we could maybe do that maybe next meeting. Would that be possible?
I can have something for you by then. Yes.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
Okay, and Jill, I think she has a question, and then Nick. Jill, did you have a question?
There we go. You know, it sounds like we're all in agreement here. Does it add any weight to presenting it to the council if we unanimously approve his final option when we finally do unanimously approve it?
You mean after we receive it in the ordinance form?
Yeah.
Right.
Does it give any weight if the commissioners unanimously agree?
Right. Yeah. So once it comes back in ordinance form, and then if the commission has any sort of changes to it, and then would vote on, if you're comfortable with it, then you vote on it to be able to be forwarded to the city council for adoption. That's the normal process.
Right. But what I'm saying is, when he presents it to the council, if we have if we say that we as a body unanimously agree with those changes, does that add any strength?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And Kim did that on something that we voted on last year. I think it was over the SDCs.
Yeah.
And she brought up at the council meeting about the, Parks and Rec and Tree Commission had supported this recommendation. Does that answer your question, Jill?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you bet. Okay, Nick, did you have another question?
Yeah, I guess just as I was mulling all this over, my only maybe suggestion for Jay, and this might have already been something you were planning on, is for you, and this maybe even addresses what Bill was talking about too, but you mentioned the white oak and the ponderosa, maybe add language that also says, or make it like more of a living document where you say, or whatever other species the city forester decides is needing protecting, because in 30 years, if there's another species that needs to be protected, that still gives the forester at the time that ability.
It's an interesting suggestion. I don't know if I want to have that much power, given to me by the city code, because then I could just say any kind of tree I like. That means I have to protect it more. It's a good and interesting suggestion. I just not sure how it would work.
That's fair.
It needs to be more specific. It can't be a gray area because the city forester position changes personnel occasionally.
Right. Yeah, that's why I like to put in native trees included.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. Seen historically, and I was a part of the very first tree ordinance we got back in the late 90s, it was a very contentious issue. So it was ugly. It took a couple of years to finally be able to get that passed with the council. So we kind of want to be a little cautious here on how much language change that we would want to present, to the council. So because once somebody finds out they don't like trees, they're just gonna kind of stir the pot. So we kind of want to be a little cautious on it. So that's what I think when Jay brings back the language, we can make it more strict or not as strict too. So, but I just keep in mind, I've seen a lot of kind of ugly issues when it comes to the trees over the years. So I'll never forget the oaks that were cut down on Gary Street over there by the mall, and that property owner was sent to jail over it, and that guy's been mad ever since. So, so yeah. Joyce, did you have a question? Oops, you're muted.
Jay, will your document be shared before the next meeting so that we can read it and come prepared?
Sure. Yeah. I want to give you just my simple Word document with my suggestions. I'll get that to Debbie or make sure that gets to you all as soon as possible. And then when I'm done, with my changes, I'll be sure that you all get those too, so you can review them, and they'll be in the meeting notes.
Sounds good. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Any other questions over the municipal code recommendation? Okay. All right. Thank you, Jay. And next, Rick, is there any general tree issues?
I think Jay might want to say something on that. Just a couple of things we talked about last time about the utility company is coming through and doing some work. They've been real good about trying to do only what they needed to do. And they've been working really closely with Jay. Jay's built a good relationship with them, and they are paying for replacement trees. And the other thing that I'm going to say before Jay does is we're really excited. Our historic apple trees are getting pruned this week for probably the first time in, I don't know, 30, 40 years.
Wow.
And so we're excited about that. Jay is working with our program people to save some of the pruned branches to use for little kids rounders for camp or something like that from our historic trees. I don't know if Jay's got anything to add or not, but I beat him to that one.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just gonna save a couple branches between 4 and 6, 7-inch diameters. And I instructed our crews to just leave a couple branches on the ground. That apple wood is gonna be really nice wood, hopefully. So I hope our programs find some good use of it. We'll cut little cookies out of it, and we can do arts and crafts stuff. It's always better to save wood and repurpose it than to chip it and let it turn back into carbon and go back into the atmosphere. Yeah. As for the power company, so Right Pruning, you might have seen them around town. They have a really contentious relationship with a lot of cities. I'm really trying to work with them best I can. There's a lot of things that they're out there doing on private property where there's not much I can do about it. But as for our public trees, sometimes, they have their threshold that they have to cut back the trees from the power line. And sometimes it ends up not looking so good for the tree. So what I'm trying to do is work with their permitters. When they see a tree that maybe they would like to remove, they come talk to me about it. I visit that tree with them and say the tree's really not that healthy, or say the tree's causing a lot of problems with the infrastructure, with the sidewalk, with the curb. Or, it looks like something that, we might try to replace anyways if we had the funding to do that. I allow them to take the tree and then they pay us for a replacement tree so we can get a better tree for that space. That's not going to be an issue that they're not going to have to prune and hack on in the future. So I'm letting them remove a couple of trees here in the meantime, but I think in the long run, it's going to be a really good thing for us because we're going to get some work done that probably would have ended up being done anyways, and we get our replacement trees paid for. So all we got to do is put them in the ground. So I'm happy with them so far.
So Jay, you're
That's
going to
good.
tell them about what's happening tomorrow?
Oh yeah, we're doing a volunteer project. We're planting 5 or 6 trees out at Lexington Park. We just had a couple leftover trees from our tree planting season. Sometimes, we show up to a person's house to plant a tree in the planting strip, and they decide it's not the tree they want. They don't want the tree. I try not to force trees on people. So sometimes we have a few left over, and Jill's idea was to get a bunch of folks together to help us plant them. So tomorrow it looks like it's going to be a nice day. So we're going to get out there and plant about 6 really nice trees.
So we have a new organization besides Adopt a Park and Graffiti Chasers. We now have what we call the Diggers. And
what?
The Diggers. They go out and they dig the holes.
Oh, diggers.
And yeah, and hopefully Jay will find more trees in the future that we can go out and plant.
That's great. Yeah. All right. Rick, did you ever go by? I think last time I told you about the trees that Right Tree Service did across from Burger King on Gary by those apartments. All those firs that they trim back. Did you ever get to see those?
I did look at those. I don't know
Yeah.
if Jay got out there or not. I know I looked at them, and it's kind of what they had to do to
Isn't
protect
that so
the
sad?
power lines.
Oh yeah, yeah. So that's what I call really butchering up a tree. So yeah, but okay. Anything else then on trees? So okay. Next action items. So this was held over because we didn't have our 2 new members with Nick and Joyce on board now. So we only had 5 members. So we held over the chair and vice chair elections then. So currently, Anna is our vice chair, and as you know, I'm chair. So is anyone wanting to take on the duties of it, or suggestions, or what would you like to do? Anyone? So
I think you do a wonderful job. Are you allowed to do it 2 years in a row? Do you want to continue to do it?
I don't know. Do we have it in the on the bylaws on this committee or not?
Nope, it just has to be a formal motion.
Okay. No, I don't mind. Anna, what about you? Do you mind being vice chair again, or chair, or anybody? Okay. All right. Then we need a motion. What would anybody want?
I would like to make a motion that we retain our officers as is for the following year. Do we have to limit it to a year, or could we just put in a decade or something?
No,
How about a year?
no, and Jill, you have to officially say you nominate Sharon as chair and Anna as vice chair. Sorry.
Oh, all right. So I would like to officially nominate Sharon as chair and Anna as vice chair to maintain the status quo of our officers.
And I would second that.
Okay. So that was pretty much for the nomination on that, but was there anybody else that wanted to be nominated or step up to the plate on it? So, okay, all right.
You got to give Nick and I some time to get our feet wet.
Okay. Yeah, all right. So all those in favor say aye.
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 And opposed? Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carried. All right. Well, since this is already March, so one or close to March, part of the year is already over anyway. So yeah. All right. Thank you, folks. Our meeting schedule frequency. And Kim, this is what? So we're into our March already. So April, May, August, October, November. Would you like to explain to the new members why we skip the other months?
Sure. So we do not meet all 12 months out of the year, as due to capacity, workload, holidays, all that kind of good stuff. As we head into the summer season, we are trying to stand up staff in June as soon as, well, Parks is getting ready to hit the ground running, well, as of March 1st, bringing on seasonal staff because things are starting to grow. On the recreation side, things get really crazy in June as we are doing summer camps, 2 pools, and then July begins events as we head on through. So June and July are out just because staff capacity. We are trying to create the magic that is Parks and Recreation. And then we report back that to you in August. We do not meet in September as it is right after Northwest Art and Air Festival, and our staff are all wonderful and broken and exhausted. And so I like to keep them around. So we typically allow them to have a little bit of time in September. October and November we meet. December we do not, as well as November, just because it's really been difficult to get folks around for the holidays. Things start raring to go, and we have had in the past trouble with quorum. So I just wanted to bring this up to let you all know kind of what the schedule is for the upcoming year. Since we've cut back, I think we've done a much better job of being able to meet quorum, and our agendas have been meatier. With all this said, we don't meet if there's no reason. If we take a look at the agenda and it's just the capital projects update and Rick, Rose, and I giving you an update, we'll probably cancel that month just because we want to be respectful of everybody's time. So some commissions are meeting 6 times a year, some are meeting 8. I just wanted to check in to see if this timeframe works well for you all still, or if there's any modifications we need to make.
Nope, it looks great. And Nick and Joyce, we did try one time to make it hybrid, the meeting hybrid. So if somebody wanted to show up for City Hall, in City Hall or online, and we've found that we've had all of our attendance has been online. We only had one time last year that somebody was from Business from the Public, and that was online. So there hasn't been any sort of issues that people wanted to come from Business from the Public to address on an issue, but you never know, something could come up. But is this schedule okay with everyone? Okay, all right. Oh, Kim?
And to touch on that, There is encouragement from city manager's office to meet in person, just because that is sometimes the least intimidating option for folks. I've reported back that our stats on business from the public, all that kind of good stuff. But I also have noted that for accessibility, especially for this group, that we have some requests to have virtual remain the option. So I just wanted to let you know that that's information that I'll be communicating back, and that it seems to be working well for this group. If something happens and we need to meet once a year, twice a year in person, we can certainly do that. We'll pre-plan that ahead of time so that we can make accommodations. But I'm just going to relay back that due to the nature of this event and our commission for accessibility, virtual is what has been preferred.
Okay. Sounds great. All right. Next would be the reports and updates. You already did the capital projects, so hiring update.
All right. So Alicia has been incredibly patient and getting a really good sense of what our city council commission meeting looks like. So Alicia joined us. We are in a 2.5 week as our new resource development coordinator. And so she's catching on super fast, is meeting sponsors left and right, and has a real passion for grant writing. So we're really excited as she continues to settle in to figure out how she can leave her mark and help, leave her thumbprint on Albany, just like everybody else wants to. So I'm going to turn it over to Alicia, let her introduce herself. And if anybody has any questions, you're more than welcome to ask them.
Okay. Welcome, Alicia.
Hi, thank you. I am really excited to be part of the Albany Parks and Rec. I came from the city of Lebanon prior, and I've been there for 5 years, but I grew up in the Albany, Lebanon area. So I have many fond memories of the parks and the city. So I'm excited to be part of the team and just help to make everything successful and continue to make improvements.
Great. So you'll be out getting the sponsorship for our concerts and
yes. Yeah, Nicole did a really great job setting me up for success. So I don't have too many doors to knock down this year. So I'm just excited to be part of the event season and really experience what it's like to be behind the scenes for it.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Yeah. So Nicole did fully retire then.
She did.
Her last day was Friday.
I saw that on Facebook. Yeah. So I know it's sad, but
we're excited for her. If we could all be in her same position, we would do it.
Well, welcome, Alicia.
Thank you so much.
You've got a wonderful group to work with. So yeah, wonderful. But okay.
Thanks, Alicia.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. And any other for hiring? Are you fully staffed now, Kim?
Sure. So I'll probably steal something that's on Rose's. We reworked the adult recreation position, as Rose has been doing it for the last 1.5 years. It's had a rough go since COVID so Rose has essentially been doing it since then. So we've reworked the position a little bit, and we're bringing it on as a recreation assistant. We have done interviews, and so hopefully this time, maybe April 1st, we'll hope to have somebody selected, vetted, and in that position. So we're excited, and once that happens, knock on wood, we'll be fully staffed.
Don't say it.
First time, I was going to say, I just jinxed it. So somebody's going to win the lottery and head off to Hawaii after this. So I'm incredibly, it's a little bit, after being so lean for so long, it is wonderful and weird to go into the office and have all of the workspaces full and people busy doing things. So yeah, it's a new chapter. It's lovely.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So, but okay. Program updates. And I think Rose was on. There's Rose.
All right. So for people who haven't met me before, I'm Rose Lacey. I'm the recreation manager. Can you not hear me?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Okay. So I'll give you some of our recreation updates. Our Spring Activate just went out on Monday. Well, Friday. You should have gotten it in your mailbox if you live in Albany city limits. Registration opened on Monday, and things are going really well with all of our spring classes. We have spring break coming up in 3 weeks. Allison, our family coordinator, is desperate to get some more kids in camp, and we have full scholarships, so we will pay them to be there, or they don't have to pay to be there. So if you know any families in need, send them to our website. We have a scholarship application online, and as soon as they fill it out, we will get in touch with them and they can register for camp. So that's a great option for families. We also have full scholarships and partial scholarships for all of our summer camps as well. So let people know, if you know of any families in need, send them our way. We would love to help. Last week, several of us, including Debbie Little and Lynn, went to Oregon Festivals and Events Conference, and we won an award. It was called the Shapeshifter Award. It was for moving river rhythms from Monteith Park to Timberland last year during construction. So we were pretty excited about that. It was a lot of work, so we're happy to get some recognition for that. And then lastly, ACP, you might have seen on our social media, ACP had a little rough go this week. We thought it might have been a pump issue, but we figured out it is the flow meter. So we are getting a new flow meter. Best case scenario, because it's not as expensive as new pump parts, and they will be here much faster. So we will reopen tomorrow at noon to all of our regular activities. That's all I got. If you have any questions.
I do. How's it coming for concerts? So
it's coming. We won't have anything probably to announce until mid to late April. So stay tuned.
Well, looking forward to it. And then how many are we doing for River Rhythms and Summer Sounds?
We're doing our regular 5 for River Rhythms and 4 for Summer Sounds.
Okay. So excellent. Yeah. Any questions of Rose? Oh, right. And actually one part would be, so I've been seeing a lot of chatter going about Maple Lawn. So, and so, which is sad that the school district isn't going to fund that. And that was a very contentious issue a few years ago. Have you been getting a lot of feedback over that?
So it hasn't been our program for quite a few years. It's been under the school district. We had the teachers under us, but that was because they couldn't be certified teachers through GAPS because of the union. So we've really been hands off with the program since our agreement with the school district to take it over. So we've heard some things, but Kim and I worked diligently with the school district to try to find another organization that could take it on, but unfortunately it's just does not make up its costs, and a lot of organizations can't afford hundreds of thousands of dollars extra right now in budgets. So it is very sad. And we're sad to see it go, but hopefully something good will come out of it. I'm not sure.
Well, it's a nice asset too for the city, is that building. So yeah, so beautiful. Yeah. But okay, well, thank you, Rose. Anything else on that, Kim, for your updates?
I'll let Rick do his, and then if there's anything missing, I'll step in.
Okay, Rick?
I'll keep it really short. I just want to say too, Jay is good. He's doing a really good job with the forester position. I'm excited about some of the staff we're bringing on. As the old guy around, it's nice to see a new generation of staff filling those spots. Just a couple of highlights. We get busy. I'm park and facilities maintenance manager, in case you don't know. We get quite busy this time of year. We usually figure March 1st is our stuff starts growing, and we get crazy. And the way that our schedule works is we are really busy until about July, when the programming starts getting busy. So we're able to help there too. Stuff stops growing so much, and then we catch up. Just a couple of other things to note. The soccer fields, unfortunately, that one we weren't able to do through our purchasing system. I'm working on that with our purchasing department and AYSO to see if there's something we can do to eventually get that last phase done. It's just taking some time. You said there were a lot of dogs in town, and I was trying to remember. We just bought dog bags about those 7, 8, maybe 9 months worth. 250,000 dog bags will last about that long. So there are a lot of dog bags. I'm glad that people are using them and picking up after their dogs. That
Thank
would be unpleasant if
goodness.
they didn't.
Yeah.
Something Jay mentioned about we're trying to get a feel for what the DBH on a tree is. A rule of thumb, I used to tell people if they were a tree hugger, if they could get their arms around the tree, it probably was not big enough to need a permit, unless they had really long arms. So just kind of a rule of thumb that to give you an idea of what 24-inch DBH is. Let's see. And I think I'll mention, it didn't get mentioned, and Kim would have probably got it if I don't, but we're looking at the state grant for Deerfield Park, probably 450, 475, 500,000, something like that we'll ask. So she's working on that. And did I steal your thunder, Kim? I'm sorry if I did, but there's normally about 12 million available. This year there's almost 30 million available. So that's why we're going for it, and everybody else in the state too. But I think we have a really good case there. So that's all I've got, unless anybody has any questions.
Questions? The only thing I saw was yesterday, and I'll just kind of put this in the middle of the couplet. It looked like there was a homeless camp starting in. So I don't know if anybody has noticed that yet, but quite a bit of junk right in the middle of that. So
that is a recurring problem. We've been trying to do that. Yeah. If you're without a home and you need restaurant services, all of that kind of stuff right there, and you're kind of protected, from your perspective, that might be a great spot to set up. From our perspective, it's not. So we work with police department to get people the services they need, and to get them out of those kind of situations and get them not where they're taking up public space in bad spots.
Yeah, so good. Thank you. That is the one piece I've always just been so proud of, that section of Albany, as kind of people coming in, in through the town and having just a nice landscaped area. So it's, pretty area. Always loved it. But okay, anything else then on program updates?
I just have one, and that is that the fountain is here.
Oh, yeah.
It is parked right next to Waverly, and it should be installed by the end of this week. So I got to see it with my own eyes, and I will dance a little jig when that baby gets in. So
yeah. I noticed when I drove by yesterday, I thought, I said, I don't see it in there yet. So excellent, good news. But might as well let Hasso Harry know about it. He'll want to write about it. Yeah. Okay, is that it, Kim? Oh, okay. Business from the commission. Let me start from the top. Jill, do you have anything?
No, but I wanted to ask Kim a question. LBCC is the proud adopter of Waverly. And I wanted to know if you know approximately when that's going to go in, because I think there are a few people from LB that would like to come down and just see it go in.
I don't know if it's going to be a fast process. As they were hoping to do it today, but the power cord didn't ship with it, so they're having to get it overnighted. So
could you just email me when you have something on that?
Sure.
And Rick, the other thing is that Chuck has resurrected Thornton Lake, the North Albany natural area. He really wants to be able to watch them prune. Could you let us know when they're going to come in?
Sure. I think he knew it was going to happen this week. So
he hasn't said anything to me, and he is a bit forgetful. So
I'll double check with him.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Jill?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Bill, did you have anything?
No, I don't.
Okay. Anna? Nope. All right. And then Joyce? Okay. And Nick? Okay, and I think we lost Aaron. The only thing I had was kind of update on the Waverly Lake duck. So Rick had told me, I think it was even the year before that, I think Sharon the duck's going to be needing to be painted and touched up. And so, Rick told me again, I think it might need some work done to it. So I went out yesterday to look at it and I was like, oh, it does. But it's been in the lake for 7 years, and it's actually, that duck is almost 40 years old now. So, because I know Mike Briggs had it for 30 some, and then we've had it in for 7. So I sent Kim and Rick a message last night that I did get a hold of, sent an email to Jim Staubel with Possum Auto Body Paint to see if he could, if he's willing to want to touch it up. It's going to need a little bit of kind of patching. It seemed a little, puffy in areas, but it's going to need a lot more repainting too. And some of you don't, I know Jill would remember, she was kind of a part of it too, but we did, when we got it restored that 7 years ago, and I got the Arts Commission gals, we all came in and we repainted that duck. And I loved the way that came out. I was real proud the way the duck came out with its colors. So it's going to need some touching up again, but it's got to have the body work done first. And last time when you did the body work, we painted it, then it had to go back to be clear coated before it went back into the lake. So hopefully I'll hear back from Jim soon. But someday that duck's not going to last. I don't think it's going to last another 40 years. And we're going to have to figure out some things. Many people in this community are very passionate about that duck. So really, and mostly kids, mostly people that were young, have always seen the duck and they were excited when it's back, and they want a duck in that duck in the lake. So yeah, I'll update you next month on where we're at with that. But thank you, Rick, for bringing it to my attention. I think you kind of knew that, it from a distance when you're driving down the highway, you can't tell, but you get up close and it's like, oh, the poor thing. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it that I have. Does anybody have any other business, anything else? But I see you're lit up, Jill. Did you, or must not? So okay, and then our next meeting would be April 3rd, and with that we are adjourned. So thank you, folks. So have a good evening.
Have a good night. Thank you.
See you. Good
Thank
night.
you.